What's happening? This is the Tap In Podcast. We are live inside of the Tap In studio. Man, this is going to be a dope show. Man, I'm telling you, I got my girl Miche in the building. What's happening, Miche?
How's it going? Thank you for having me.
For sure. Thank you for coming, man.
Yeah.
This is going to be a dope show. One, because it's rounding us out in the in Black History Month. So I'm glad we having this conversation. It is more than well needed. You know what I mean? But before we get started, let me do my sponsors. Hold on one second. Y'all talk amongst yourselves real quick. All right. Yo, this episode is brought to you by the Rose Group. The Rose Group at Keller Williams. If you're interested in you're selling your house, getting your house sold, want to know how much your house is worth right now, make sure you contact the Rose Group. They can be contacted at 817-523-9644. 817-523-9644. Find out how much your house is worth. Are you interested in selling your house right now? The housing market is going crazy right now, okay? So make sure you hit them up. That's the Rose Group at kellerwilliams.kw.com, okay? Now, Miche, what's going on, man?
Nothing much. You know, we just got out of this storm, so I'm just happy to be out of the house.
Man, you and me both. Me and you both, man. I got super blessed, lucky, whatever you want to call it. We live by a fire station, so our electricity didn't go out, but our water wasn't working. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
we was like, man. And I told my wife, me and my son, when the water went off, I was like, you know, we really take baths around here anyways.
So it's not new.
Yeah. She was like, you better go take a whole bath or something. Go boil you some water.
Right. Listen, I didn't have any issue, you know, with the power because I got to stay at my dad's house. But let me tell you, being back in your parents' house is a different feeling, right?
Yes.
So I was like, all right, what we going to do with these lights? I'm ready to go home. Got to get back to my place.
Yeah. And you know this, I'm from California, so this is my first time ever being in snow, period.
Right.
So at first, like the first day, it was cool. It was fun. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's cute.
Yeah.
And then after that, you're like...
You're like, what the hell? Like, let me get my ass back in the house.
Right.
So, yeah, man, I'm glad you came on because I know mental health has been talked about, like, in the last year or two, like, heavily, especially, like, on social media and everything. Mm-hmm. And... T Hope is the one that introduced me to you. Was like, yo, my girl, you need to bring her on. She's dope in the mental health space. So now I kind of want to get, are you a therapist or are you a psychiatrist?
Yes. So I'm a licensed therapist.
Okay.
Undergrad, I went to Prairie View and
what?
Studied, yes.
PV in the house.
Prairie View A&M University.
Me too.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, fam.
That's what's up.
So majored in psychology there, went to Clark Atlanta for my graduate degree in social work. So I'm a licensed master social worker.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay, dope.
Yes.
Man. Matter of fact, I did remember him mentioning you going to PV.
Oh, yeah. That's like the first thing I tell people. So I'm sure he was, you know, giving you that because that's something I love Prairie View.
Me too, man.
Yeah, it was the time of my life. So
man, I wish I can go back sometimes.
Oh, yeah. They owe me a semester. Have you seen the campus?
Man.
And how nice it is? They owe me a semester to just come kick it. They got a pool. They got barbecue pits, all types of stuff. They just owe me time to have fun.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I still owe them some money, so they don't owe me shit. I love PV. PV, you in the house, baby.
Yes.
That's what's up. Mm-hmm. So, here's what I want to ask you. Like, I know with this big storm and everybody just getting out of the pandemic, like, it's a lot of traumas, a lot of people getting depressed. You know what I mean? How should people, I guess, deal with that mental angst or that just being locked in the house for, I don't know how long. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So the first thing is acknowledgement. You know, like a lot of people try to shy away from saying, oh, well, I'm sad right now, or I can tell that I'm shutting down, or I can tell that, you know, this is not my norm. People just try to work themselves through it without acknowledging. So the first thing is that you definitely have to acknowledge that something is off. Something is not right. It's not your norm. After acknowledging, it's definitely reaching out to therapists. You have so many therapists. We were already doing virtual therapy. You have Talkspace, you have BetterHelp, that they were already offering those, virtual therapy services. But now that we're in the pandemic, almost all of us are doing virtual. I don't know,
Really?
very few of us are actually still going into offices and doing face-to-face therapy. So you have the option to reach out to a therapist. And once you do that, it is for you and your therapist to determine what your next steps are. Your therapist is going to be there to help guide you through what you're experiencing.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I know for somebody like me, like the way I deal with trauma is I like to just isolate myself. You know what I mean? Like, cause I need to think through everything that's going on. And then once I deal with it internally and figure out like, man, okay, I kind of like go into a shell just to build myself back up. And then I come out like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, we back in. Is that good or do I, cause I'm not contrary to popular belief, I'm not really talkative like that. You know what I mean?
Really?
Especially about my feelings.
Okay, right.
You know what I mean?
That's a lot of us. Yeah, that's a lot of people. They're not comfortable talking about their feelings. But you said two things. One, you said that you isolate, and then you also said that you like to think about what you're going through yourself, right? So there's absolutely nothing wrong with self-reflection. Actually, that's a very good tool to have and a very good practice where you go and you think about the things that are affecting you and how you want to address them. The isolating part, though, is probably where you want to focus on changing, just because when you isolate, that means you push other people away. And that can cause additional problems in some other areas. But in self-reflecting, it's kind of acknowledging, like, who's my support system? You can have one or two people that you reach out to when you're in that space. It doesn't mean that you have to open yourself up to everybody. It is okay to recluse and take that time for yourself.
Yeah, because I know, like, here's my thing. When I was single, right? When I was single, I had to deal with everything that came into my life. You know what I mean? And now that I'm married, having to, I guess, verbalize my feelings and let somebody else know what's going on with me is not my norm. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I would say in the beginning it was difficult. Me and my wife been together for 5 years, married 3 years now. But it's in the very beginning it was difficult because I'm used to getting that tunnel vision when I'm dealing with a problem or issue, so I can figure it out. And then once I figure it out, then I'll come out and be social again, because I like being around people. You know what I mean?
Right.
I do. But it's like when I'm dealing with something that's stressful, then I like to close off and close down just so I can figure like, okay, what's my next move to getting out of this? You know what I mean?
Right. And again, there's nothing wrong with the self-reflection, but when you're married, you have a partner. So that person wants to be and should be included in how you navigate through some of those things, right?
Yeah.
You still have to allow yourself your own time, right? I mean, we're people. I was just talking about I wanted to go back home to my house. We were in the middle of a storm, right?
Yeah.
So we all need our own space at times, but it's okay to allow people to come in as long as they're going to be people that are supportive, in which I'm sure your wife is. So allowing somebody that's going to be your support system into that moment so that you can self-reflect, but then also work through that with somebody. It's good to have that support. That's one thing that I think a lot of people don't realize is having a support system is essential to living. We don't need anybody to live, but we need people to be able to function healthy in a healthy lifestyle.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I think that it's also important to understand that you're not able to talk yourself out of everything. Sometimes you need somebody to bounce things off of. And if it's going to be your support system or a therapist, that therapist will be there to help you navigate through that. Because most of the time, you're not going to ask yourself all the right questions. right?
Right.
You're going to ask yourself what you want to hear.
Right.
Right?
Right.
And what's going to be beneficial, what you feel like is beneficial to you. You bring in a therapist because we're going to give you that unbiased thought process into making sure that you get what you want out of, the situation.
Yeah. That's funny you say that. Because I know that I'd be like, man, should I go over here and do this? But if I do, I'm going to go get that. I'm like, okay, yeah,
right.
let's do it.
Right. And so the therapist is going to walk you through all of those things.
Yeah.
They're going to walk you through everything, the good, the bad, the indifferent in that.
Yeah. God dang. Man. And I know, like, I'm going to tell you, I have you seen that movie, the Judas and Messiah? Have you seen that yet?
Mm-mm.
Man, when I tell you, like, here's what I was talking to my wife about last night, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I don't know if I really want to know Black history, right? I don't know if I really want to know, because it always triggers me when I find out, like, oh, so such and such did invented that. And then I was like, well, why we don't know? Like, why his name not big, or why they not, like, known as? Then you find out, oh, somebody took their idea, somebody stole their idea, and then he's like, fuck. Like, you know what I mean? It triggers me to be like, damn. And I'll be like, I don't even want to go down that rabbit hole to even figure out Black history. Like,
Oh yeah, it's traumatic.
Yeah.
Reading about it, watching it. I haven't seen the movie because I'm honestly, maybe it is because of my profession, or maybe it's just me, the space that I am. I'm kind of tired of those type of movies, and like seeing
It's a good
the
movie,
trauma.
though.
I've heard,
It's a good
but it's
movie.
a lot of trauma that you have
Yes.
to then process after you've watched it.
Yeah.
And so that's what you're saying. Like, I don't even want to really go through all of this because it's traumatic. What we as Black people have been through as a community as a whole is very traumatic. And so then to read about it and continue to watch it and all those things, it opens up wounds you didn't know you had.
Yeah.
Because our community is honestly suffering mentally because of things that happened years ago. Right? And we could talk back to slavery, but then if you just want to take that out of the equation, what was happening in the 60s and the 70s was very traumatic.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't have the opportunity to process. I know, like, just for an example, my father, he's 70 years old, grew up, and he saw Bloody Sunday, which was the walk in Selma over the Pettus Bridge. He saw that on the news as a kid. So he's, as a kid, watching people get beat on a bridge, just so they could vote.
Yeah.
So as he went through life, he suppressed that. And that's a lot of what we do. If you just think about the fact 2020 was a traumatic year for everybody.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what color you are, what race, ethnicity, it was traumatic.
Yeah.
Add seeing the murder of
George
Floyd.
Mm-hmm.
Add the issue with Ahmaud Arbery. Then add Breonna Taylor to that, and being Black and walking out of your house every day not knowing what could happen.
Yeah.
Very traumatic. The only way that I think is a healthy way to deal with that is to process it in your circle. I don't think that that's something that you should hide. I don't think that it's something you should suppress. Like, I think our parents for years have suppressed their feelings about those things. They've walked through, workspaces and not had the opportunity to talk about that. But we live in a time where we should be able to express. Today, I'm not feeling it, right? Mm-hmm. I just watched, so many times we watch on our phones, people are being killed. That's not healthy to watch those things. So some of the things that we should do is, like, limit that.
Yeah.
We shouldn't always be watching our phones or those videos where people are being shot and things like that. I have to limit that. And there are times where I just completely remove myself from social media altogether because it's not healthy to see those things over and over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man. Yeah, because I know sometimes where I just put it away. And especially like it was a big car accident on 35, like probably like a week ago, like right when the storm first hit, and people was sharing that, like it was like a videos on Facebook, and I'm like, why are y'all sharing this? Like, there's people dying in that car crash.
Yes.
I don't want to see that. Like, you know what I mean? Please don't share it on my timeline. Yes. I don't want to see it because I'm just like, those are families, and once I start thinking about people are just probably trying to drive to work, or they just trying to get somewhere, and then next thing you know, they get a call from their family. I'm just like, I don't want to see that, man.
Yeah.
I
call it trauma porn. Like when you are continuing to see that type of thing on your timeline, and even for me, like watching movies like Judas and the Messiah, I know you said it's great, but seeing movies like that, or 12 Years a Slave, or, you know, like things like that, that's trauma porn to me. Why do I need to keep watching the things that I know happened?
Yeah.
You know? Seeing that over and over again. And then, again, like I said, people are not processing their feelings. Like, how did it make you feel when you saw that accident? How did it make, you know, like you have to process those things. So that's my thing, is that we as a people, we have to be cognizant of the things that we continue to watch and you allow in your system, because what you put in your system, if you're not processing and expressing it out, it stays in and it comes out another way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what does that look like when you processing your feelings? Because somebody like me, that I suppress my feelings. What does that look like when you trying to process your feelings, or just talk about, like, because when you just said that, when you just said, like, how does that make you feel seeing the accident? I'm just like, I don't know. I just didn't want to see it. You know what I mean? But
why? So those are the questions. Why didn't you want to see it?
Because I could only imagine being in the car and seeing an 18-wheeler coming down full speed on you. You know what I mean?
And there's nothing you could do about it.
Right.
Right. So you just processed it. That is literally what processing is. It's asking yourself, and if you're in therapy, the therapist will ask you the necessary questions so you understand why you had that feeling. And then from there, you can, if you think about it, you don't want to see that, because you can only imagine what it's like for an 18-wheeler, because you're not ready for death. Like, that's not something you want to talk about or think about, right?
Yeah.
We don't, we still got a lot of life to live, right? So I don't want to see that, because then there's a possibility. So it brings in anxiety. Like, then you start thinking, like, what if this happened to somebody I love, or what if that, So that's the reason, and that's how you process. You just begin to talk about it. And when you're in a session with a therapist, they are really going to break down those thoughts for you, so that you're, one, getting it out, but then you're understanding where those feelings are coming from, because that's really important for people to understand where the feelings come from.
Okay. Yeah. And I know, like, fortunately for me, like, in my life, the only person that I, like, knew, like, in my family was my grandmother that passed away. You know what I mean? But I know I have friends, and I have other people that have people that was close to them that has died, and, like, I want to come in and give them some positive reinforcement, but I really don't understand what that feeling is. You know what I mean? Because I haven't experienced it firsthand. But I can only imagine, like, what's that feeling like? And I'm weird when it comes to death. You know what I'm saying? Like, I am. Like, I remember at Prairie View, one of my were you there when the track people had a car accident? Okay, so it was probably before you was there. But at Prairie View, it was the track team. They got into a car accident, and they went on a trip to go for a track meet. They got into a car accident. Everybody in the car died, and it was some people that was roommates with the guys that was on campus with us. And after one of the guys, he was my frat brother. He went to the funeral, and I was like, "Yo, man, how was the funeral? Like, it was cool." And he was like, "What the fuck you mean? How was the funeral?"
Right.
And I was just like, "Man, I was just trying to, like, either make small talk or just relate." You know what I mean? But he went off on me about it, and I was just like, I don't know what to say to somebody, like, when it comes to death like that. You know what I mean? Right.
So that is an odd space to be in when someone has lost a loved one, a friend. It is an odd spot. I actually was talking to somebody about this on Twitter, because you don't know, no words are going to be able to help them heal, right? But then you don't want to not say anything. Right. You want to extend your thoughts and your condolences, and really, honestly, it's really just being comfortable saying, "I'm sorry," if there's anything I can do, and lending just that support, but it may not be the right thing. That's a situation where you may not ever say the right thing to somebody because they're grieving. And grief is a process. Grief isn't like, oh, there was a death and then in 2 weeks I'm not thinking about it anymore, and then in 2 years I feel completely better, right? Mm-hmm. Grief is an entire process. There are 5 stages of grief, and so it just depends. A lot of people could stay in the angry state of grief for months and not come out of that. So there aren't any perfect words to say when somebody passes away. That's just the reality. It's kind of like, I think my go-to is praying strength and healing for you at this time. That's because they're not, like I said earlier, words that are going to take the pain away.
Right.
So that's really what I go to. But that is a question, but Black people ask all the time, how was the funeral? I mean, it was a funeral. Like, it wasn't a great time.
Right.
You know, nobody else died, but, it's like, so I get it. Like that, but that's a question that we ask all the time. Yeah. That you didn't do anything wrong. Like, you were trying to, don't feel bad.
He cussed me the fuck out. Like, he went off on me. I was like, damn, man, I was just trying to, like, you know what I mean? But
he wasn't ready for that.
Yeah. Shout out to James Williams. He cussed me the fuck out.
You calling him out, huh?
Yeah.
That's funny.
Oh, man. So, like, how do you, because I got a bunch of questions about a bunch of shit. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But how does Black people deal with, like, family stuff? You know what I mean? Because I know that's a big thing, like, in the Black community, Black families. Like, when stuff go down in the Black family, like, no, we don't talk about it. No, just, we don't say nothing about it.
Of course.
Like,
one thing about the Black family is we were just really loyal to the saying, what happens in this house stays in this house. And that is probably one of the most toxic sayings. No, what happens here doesn't need to stay here. We need to tell on Uncle Jimmy. Like, you don't just let Uncle Jimmy do what he did and not tell, So we have to unlearn. There are a lot of things that we have to unlearn. And as young people, as parents, like new parents and, entering into new marriages, that's when you determine, like, what are new practices that you want to have for your household? Do you want to have open dialogue with your kids? My specialty, I work with children and adolescents, so from age 6 to like 22 is where I primarily focus my practice in. Do you want to have open dialogue with your kids, right? Mm-hmm. For those of us that didn't have that opportunity to have that dialogue in our home, it's addressing that. It's actually acknowledging that, yeah, my parents were not perfect. The things that I learned as a child were not all the correct things that I should have. But acknowledgement does not mean that you're saying someone was wrong. I think that that's where a lot of people kind of get stuck in, like, I don't want to say that I had bad parents. No, they weren't bad parents. There's no book to parenting.
Right.
A lot of people have written books, but that doesn't mean that it's the guideline, right? Because so many kids are different. So you can read that book and it still doesn't apply to your child.
Right.
Okay. But acknowledging that there were some practices in your home or in homes of Black families that were incorrect, it's not a bad thing. You're just saying, like, hey, that was wrong. That's not what I want to do. Right. Mm-hmm. We're going to do something different in this house. In this household, we are going to have the opportunity for my kids to express their feelings so that they learn healthy communication, because a lot of what, and it's not just Black men, a lot of Black women don't realize how much they shut down as well and how much they suppress their feelings and don't talk about in a healthy manner the way that they feel about things. A lot of people are quick to just, like snap. Mm-hmm. Like James, he went off on you. James didn't have the right words. He didn't know what else to say, so he just snapped, right? But that happens a lot because we weren't given those tools when we were younger. So it's really just acknowledging that those practices that I had when I was a kid, that's not what I want in my life now. I'm going to deal with the trauma. I'm going to actually talk about what happened in my household that was not comfortable, right? What happened in my household that I didn't think was right, and the things that over time made me angry or made me upset or made me sad. Like it's one of the things that I notice when I work with young black boys is that one of the main things, the feelings that they describe is mad. I'm mad. When really they don't understand that they're really just disappointed in their mom, or they're disappointed in their friend. But we as a people have decided that mad and anger are our feelings. So we have two feelings, mad or happy. You know, like what's in between that? You could be disappointed. You could just be confused. You might not even be mad. You're just confused about why that person moves the way they move, you know?
Yeah.
And you need a better understanding, but that comes from communicating and being able to really express, okay, you did this and I didn't really understand how you thought that was okay for you to do that to me. And so walk me through walk me through your thought process.
Yeah.
And allowing that person to explain themselves. And then it's like, okay, well, I'm not confused anymore. I just really didn't like that. So how do we work through that? You know, learning boundaries is another thing that we don't do as a whole, is understanding what your boundaries are and then making sure that people don't cross them. And when they do cross the boundaries, again, in a healthy way, expressing that. Like, this is something I said.
So you can't punch them in the face once they cross the...
Nah, fam. We just... we can't be punching people. Like, one of the things that I think is so toxic that black families say is, if somebody hits you, hit them back. Telling your kids that is dangerous.
Yeah.
Let me tell you why that's dangerous. Because, no, don't let anybody put their hands on you. I completely agree with that, right? However, children do not have meters. So you tell your child to hit them back, the child might have just pushed the child, on accident.
Yeah.
Well, you told them, don't let anybody put their hands on you, hit them back. Well, now he's stomping the boy out.
Yeah.
And you mad at the principal because your child is in trouble. Because he doesn't have a meter.
Right.
So you didn't tell your child, you didn't give your child a healthy way to handle that situation. You just told him hit him back, and kid is like, all right, go time.
Yeah.
My mama said hit you back. So, I'm coming with the left and the right.
Yeah.
You can't do that.
Yeah.
Especially because as we grow older, then law enforcement gets involved.
Mm.
And so those ideas that if somebody hits you, hit them back, or it's an idea of retaliation, basically. And what does that look like as an adult? I can't go around hitting people.
Right.
Because they made me mad.
Right. Yeah, I got to be careful with that with my son, too. Because, like, my son, like, before, like, when he was young, like, he wasn't, like, the most aggressive little boy. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, nah, I want to at least be aggressive a little bit to be able to stand up for himself. But I think now, as he's gotten a little older, because he's 10 now, where he's like, he's ready to go. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
and I be having to, and then, he's getting at the age where he be trying to try me a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So sometimes I had to grab him like, hey, no.
Let me let you know.
Yeah. But I had to be careful with that, because I know teaching my son, like, to stand up for himself doesn't mean going around bullying people. You know what I mean? I think that's, because I don't want him to be a bully at all. Like, I want him to be a fun, loving kid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I want that, but I also don't want him to get bullied or picked on.
Right. So it's teaching confidence.
Yes.
Right. Again, I work with children, and I don't necessarily like the word bullying, because what we have done with that word is given a lot of kids the ability to escape or run from conflict resolution. Every time somebody talks about you does not mean that they're bullying you. Mm-hmm. I don't believe. That's in my theory that life beats you up, right? Life, if we really want to use the word bully, life is a bully.
Yeah.
So if we're teaching kids that just because someone doesn't say something you like, that means that they're bullying you, or they have done something to you, that means that they're bullying you. What tools are we giving them to go through life? Because life is going to give you twists and turns that you don't like, right? Twists and turns that are uncomfortable, that are painful, that are hurtful. And if we don't, how do you, for parents, like, what do you tell your child to do if somebody is bullying them?
So here's what I tell them. Hey, the first thing you do is go tell somebody of authority, right? Go tell somebody of authority. If they not handling it, the authority just should be able to step in and stop it. At that point, you need to take care of it and then come tell us. Like, get them off of you so they'll leave you alone. But then you come tell us exactly what happened. And you already went to authority. They didn't handle it. The dude is still doing it. If he came in, you go and take care of it or get him up off you. And then you come and tell us. I don't want you to start nothing. I definitely don't want you to be picking on nobody. But if you go tell us somebody of authority and they ain't handling it, then that's when we got to step in.
Yeah, definitely. All right things. All of those things are right. I think another piece to add is just that they need to be able to express that themselves to the person. Now, bullying is
that's bullying them.
Yes. So bullying is a thing. Don't get me wrong when I say that I don't like the word bullying. I know it's a thing. There are kids, people in general. I mean, social network is crazy with that. You know, where people just are constantly saying negative things, and so bullying is a thing. I think though that with kids we have to give them the tools to be able to speak up for themselves as well. And so that what you tell him yourself, like, get them off you when you say that, it's like giving them the confidence to know that they can also speak for themselves. Like, make sure that your child has a voice for themselves as well. You can say to them, leave me alone. Now, if they don't, then we take the other steps. But a lot of the times we're kind of teaching our kids to just kind of run away from it. And when we do that, we're not giving them all of the tools they need, because we can't run away from life.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and I guess the way I grew up was totally different. Because
yeah, a lot of us.
Yeah.
That's probably why the word bullying bothers me, because people used to talk about me all the time. I'm skinny, okay? Yeah. People talked about me all the time, but I had to hold my own. Like, I had to stand up for myself.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of the piece that we're missing these days. We sometimes coddle kids.
Yes. And I think that's the one of the reasons why I'm kind of tough on him. So when he goes outside, like anytime somebody messing with him or bother him, talking about him, it don't really bother him because he's got the worst for me. But then I don't want him to think like I'm bullying him. You know what I mean? Because that's even worse than having a friend bullying you than a parent to be just being on you all the time. You know what I'm saying? So I try to give him a little balance, but.
Well, that's good though, because you're giving him reassurance that he's a great kid.
Yeah.
But I'm also going to be a little tough on you. So you are able, like, you have tough skin, you're able to handle things outside of the home. But you give him that love too. So it's like, it's the good balance, like you said.
Yeah. Because I know when I was a kid, right, I got an older sister and a younger sister, right? When I used to get into fights with dudes, I felt like it was nobody else that I could go and get. Like, everybody had a big brother. And it was like, I ain't got no big brother. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I'm not going to go get my big sister. You know what I mean? I just not going to get her. So I was like, I had to stand up for myself. I had to learn how to fight. I had to learn how, like, if somebody approaches me with aggression, like, I have to be over aggressive just to get them to stop bullying me or stop picking on me. And then that actually, in my experience, resolved a lot of issues that I had. Because once they seen that I wasn't going to be punked or I wasn't going to be bullied, it stopped. You know what I mean? And so, and when you said that I need to tell my son, like, hey, leave me alone, like, that wouldn't work when I was a kid. You know what I'm saying? Like they will continue on until you do something to them, and then they be like, okay, I'm gonna leave you alone.
So you saying like you had to do something physical in order to just.
When I was a kid, yes.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, if somebody did something to me, I couldn't just be like, hey man, leave me alone. Cause that wouldn't stop it. That would make them want to do it even more. But until I was like, man, leave me alone, then they would be like, man, you all right. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, you have that now. You have kids that are gonna keep going.
Yeah.
But I think the point I was making is just making sure they have the voice.
Okay.
Because a lot of parents kind of coddle their kids to not have the voice. They're like, oh, they picking on you. I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do that. Well, let them do a little bit something too.
Yeah.
Like allow them to be involved in the process. But to your point, that still happens a lot. But that's why having conversations like this are important, because a lot of parents aren't giving their kids, like what you're saying, the balance. And it's I'm hopeful that when people listen and they're watching the show, like they're understanding like, hey, maybe it's something else I need to be adding in when I teach my kid. Because while your child might be the one that's getting that balance, the other kid that keeps picking isn't.
Yeah.
They're at home fending for themselves. They're trying to figure out things for themselves. And so that's why I do what I do, is because that child that isn't getting any of that balance, I want to try to help be that balance while you're growing. Somebody else that's giving you reassurance, helping you understand that you are a great person and giving you those tools to work with, because, unfortunately, all parents aren't as involved, as others.
Yeah. I feel like this is probably going to set some people off, but fuck it. I feel like women for with boys, they coddle their boys. Like a lot of women, even my wife, like I be want to toughen my son up, but then I know as a woman she's a nurturer. So when he get mad at me, he go lay in my wife's lap and, oh mom, like he did this, and I'm like, let him be a boy. You know what I mean? And I don't know if that's good or bad. But I'd be like, let him figure out his emotions or figure out how to deal with his emotions, because I know I tell my son now, like, man, get in control of your emotions. When you upset, learn how to put on, or not even, I don't even know how to, learn how to deal with it. And I guess maybe I'm not even explaining that to him. I think that's probably the issue. Because I'd be like, man, you learn how to control your emotions, but I'm not giving them the tools to learn how to deal with it. It's just, hey, man, stop crying. You know what I mean?
Okay, so it's a lot of things for me to unpack in what you just said.
Okay.
First thing is, you said that a lot of women coddle their boys. Do men not do that with their daughters? So what's wrong with women? Because, being a daddy's girl is kind of celebrated, right?
Yeah.
Fathers take a lot of pride in spoiling their daughters and treating their daughters a certain way. Why can't moms do the same?
I don't know how to answer that, but here's what I'm gonna give you. What I heard Chris Rock say. Mm-hmm. He said the world stops for a crying little girl. The world doesn't stop for a crying little boy.
So something's wrong with the world. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with the boy. And that's what we have to realize, is that we have allowed society to put pressure on men to where they are not able to express emotion if the emotion is seen as something that's feminine, like crying. Men should be able to cry. It is a natural response to something that hurts you. And it is also a process. Like it's an expression. Like that is a healing. Being able to let that out. It is releasing something, right? Mm-hmm. We haven't allowed men to do that. The other thing with that is that black men, I'll take it back to the black culture. Black men have to be seen as tough, hard, masculine for whatever that can be defined by. We don't allow our men the space to be comfortable. So what happens is you have a young boy that grows up thinking, okay, I can't cry or I can't show any of these emotions. And as they get older, they've suppressed it so long that when they get in another relationship or they get in a relationship with somebody, they're not able to express their feelings. And so you have a situation where you have a woman that wants the guy that she's with to be able to express himself and to be able to work through issues that they have, but he doesn't even have the tools. Because his whole life, he was told not to cry. His whole life, he was told to be tough. Men don't do this. Boys don't do that. Why don't they do that? Those are natural. You're people. It is natural to cry. And not just because somebody died.
Yeah.
If you're hurt, it's okay to cry.
Yeah, but it's like...
No, you don't want to be overtly, emotional. So I do understand what you're saying when you're telling him, learn to control your emotions. The thing that I talk to my clients about is reaction and response. So it's really learning how to respond to your emotions and respond to things that are happening and not just react. So a reaction is just somebody says something to you or somebody does something and you immediately impulsively react to what they said. A response is taking a step back, thinking about that, and then deciding how you want the situation to go. If you want it to blow up, by all means, that's your prerogative. Do your thing. But if you want it to go in a healthy space, in a healthy way, decide how you want to do that and then move forward in that.
Reaction and response.
Yeah. But a lot of the times we are, as people, we're moving off of impulse and we're just reacting to situations. I'm sure a lot of people, we can take it back to 2020. A lot of people were just reacting. When they heard what was going on, they want to go to Walmart, Target, Kroger, buy up all the tissue paper, buy all the, toilet, all the stuff they was buying. I saw a picture of somebody with 10 gallons of milk in her basket. Yeah. Ma'am, where are you going with that?
Yeah, it's going to spoil you. Yeah.
It's going to spoil. Do you have that many people in your house to drink that milk?
Yeah.
That was a reaction versus thinking about it. Okay, this is a virus. They're telling us to stay home. What are the essential things that I need at home? How long would I be there? Like really thinking it out, right? And then going to the store and buying something that's on your list, effective, and staying in your house and trying to be safe from the virus. It was complete chaos. Yeah. I was actually in Belize when all of this stuff happened. And so all I could do was watch Instagram or, and see what people are doing. And I was like, this is really ridiculous. Yeah. These people are going crazy.
And it wasn't like that in Belize? Nobody was...
No, we were still chilling. What? On the beach, like mad chilling, tequila drinks, you know what I'm saying? People were still like chilling. America
going haywire. They going crazy.
Wild.
I think a lot of America does like a lot of fear mongering kind of things to make everybody get like, hey man, it's gonna be a low supply of this. Y'all better get it. You know what I mean? I think a lot of America does that to people, to put people where they just anxious. Like, you know what? I'm gonna go without. So I gotta hurry. I gotta. What is it called? Hoard all this stuff because it's gonna be not enough. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
It's very reactive though. Yeah. It's very reactive. There was no real response to that pandemic, and we can go down a rabbit hole of why, the leadership and all of that. But you're right, America, we are definitely a reactive country. We are not proactive. Because another thing I was thinking, like, y'all don't already have this stuff at your house,
right? Right.
I'm sure there's enough in my house for me to be there for at least 2 weeks and not leave, and I got enough tissue paper. Like, what do you mean, fam? Like, why are you having to buy so much? Right? Be proactive. But when it comes to like behaviors and, conflict resolution, all those things, these are things that we have to teach children. These are things that as adults we have to begin to relearn practices. so that we're not reacting a lot. But I mean, as parents, as uncles and aunts, we also, the behaviors that we have and display is what our kids pick up on. So that's another way that they learn how to respond to things. Like, are you responsive? You know, as the aunt, your niece came over for the weekend. Are you responding to the person driving in traffic that just cut you off? Are you reacting? You cussing them out? You know what I'm saying? Then they pick up on that. They're like, oh, I'm supposed to cuss out people when I'm driving. Nah, because, you know.
Yeah.
It has adverse effects sometimes when you do that. So it's, you know, it's relearning things. It's a learning process. And that's why I think that as a whole, people should be open to therapy, because it teaches us those things. The therapist is going to help you walk through that. And the therapist is not there to give you advice. If any therapist gives you advice, fire them, get them out. You know, that's not who you want. The therapist is there to help you navigate your own thoughts. The therapist is there to help you navigate your own goals. They have an unbiased opinion and outlook on things, so that's why they're able to do that. But going to therapy helps teach, you know? It helps you learn and gather more tools. But then the other thing I think that's important to realize is that we go to the doctor. You know, you go to see a MD, you go to the dentist, you get your teeth cleaned, I hope, every 6 months.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Therapy is like that. It's just it's a check-in. Like, you're checking in to make sure things are still going. Something goes wrong. If you have a headache for, you know, more than 5 days, you're probably going to go to the doctor like, man, why is my head still hurting?
Right.
Same thing with behavior and in our mental space. If you've been a week and you've reclused and you can't get out of that and you're trying to figure out, like, what's going on with me, you know, seek help. Go see a therapist. That's why we went to school and we got these student loans. We gotta pay off.
Yeah.
You know, like, that's what we're here for. We're here to help heal. Just like an MD, just like, you know, your dentist, they have their respective lanes, and so do we.
Yeah, and I know, like, therapy is not a big thing in the black community. You know what I mean? Talking about certain issues and dealing with certain things is not a like a go-to. You know what I mean?
No.
But it should be. It should be, because most I think for anybody, you know what I mean, anybody dealing with any kind of mental issues or anything should definitely go and talk to somebody. And look at me, I'm giving advice about talking to somebody. And I just want to be like, man, I figured it out. I got this. I know here's my thing. I want to talk to you about something personal. Mm-hmm. So my dad didn't grow up in my life, right? And it was been like certain points in my life where I tried to reach out and try to get that relationship. But every single time that we will go for a couple of days and talk, he'll just go back to his regular old, like, where I can't reach him, or, hey man, I'm gonna call you, or we're gonna do something, and it just don't happen. I've been toying with the idea, like, man, do I want to have a conversation with him as a man now? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I'm just like, should I or should I not? Because it's like, it's a lot of questions that I've had or that I have that I want to get the answers to before, you know what I mean, he leave this earth. Mm-hmm. But I'm just like, I don't know if I don't know if I want to. One, because I feel like everything that I felt like I needed from him, I feel like I already figured it out. Like, I already got it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And I think one of my main questions for him is just like, man, why you wasn't there? Like, what was going on in your life why you wasn't there? It was certain times that I needed you, but you wasn't there. And then I had to go to some hood dude or some dude off the streets to learn the lesson, or I had to go to YouTube to learn it. You know what I mean? And I'm just like, do I want to have that conversation with him? I like, and I've been disappointed, not mad. Mm-hmm. I've been disappointed with it so many times where I'm just like, I don't want to set myself up for that. I don't want to set myself up for that disappointment again. You know what I mean? And I feel like I'm too old to be dealing with disappointment from a guy that been knowing me my whole life.
You're never too old. So I don't think that that's a factor to get answers that you want, because regardless of what the answer will be, it's affected you in some way. So you're never too old to get answers to help you in your own healing process or understanding process for what that is. But the questions to ask yourself is, why do you want the answers? Another thing to ask yourself would also be, are you going to be okay with what his answers may be? You also mentioned that you said that there are certain questions you want to ask so that you have the answers before he leaves. But then in the same breath, you said, I mean, why do I want to get those answers? Or something to that effect. You said, it's really determining what are those answers going to do for you. Is it something that you need to heal from? So it's really self-reflection. Like, it's really asking yourself, is there something that I need to heal from? The reason I'm asking these questions to him, or is it just because I want to know the answer? And that will help determine if it's something that you feel like you need to heal from, or it's something that is still affecting you that will help you be a better parent to your son, or like if you get that answer for yourself, that will help determine for you if you really want to do that, if that's really the space you want to go into. Because the other thing that you have to understand is he may or may not answer. And you have to be comfortable. Once you open that up, you have to be comfortable with the fact that you may not ever get the answer, whether or not you ask it or not. So it's really a lot of self-reflection, because we can't control other people. And so a lot of the times when we want answers from people, or we want to have conversations with people because something happened or they did something to us, it's always understanding that you have to be comfortable with whatever they say or do not say. Because he has the ability to say, I'm not answering that. Why does it matter to you? He might say, like, why does that matter to you? That was a long time ago. Or he might say, son, I just didn't know what to do back then. I didn't have it in me. But either way, you have to be comfortable with that. So it's really asking yourself the questions of, why do you want these answers? Is it something that you need to heal from? Is it something that's affecting you? In what way is it affecting you? And then decide, hey, let me go ahead and reach out to have this conversation.
Yeah. I don't know if I don't think it's nothing I need to heal from about it, but I think it's just like, damn. It for me it's more like, what could I have been if he was there? You know what I mean? Because I feel like men put confidence in their sons, right? Mm-hmm. And I know at different points in my life where I lacked the confidence in my ability to do something, or my feeling like I deserve this, or I really should go after what I really want to. And it was like, man, I'm not going to get that, so I ain't going to do that. You know what I mean?
Do you feel like you're confident now?
Yeah, 100% now. But at certain points at times in my life, I wasn't.
So you're wanting to get the answer to give you more confidence, or to because we don't know what could have been.
Right.
So are you wanting to get the answer so that it provides more confidence to you, or that you can give more confidence to your son? Or like, because what would you do with that information? My mom calls it the shoulda, coulda, woulda. What would you do with that answer because of a shoulda, coulda, woulda?
Shit, I guess nothing. I guess nothing.
But it's something that's affecting you. So it's like you still can do something with it. You can say, okay, he told me this is the reason why he didn't show up for X, Y, and Z. I'm gonna make sure that I show up for my son. So I am giving him that, and I am, like, it could provide you with more tools to work with your son, to take back and be a more amazing father. But you decide that, though. You decide what you want to do with that information. Because if you said it's not any, you don't think it's anything you need to heal from, but it's affecting what you felt like maybe could have been your future or would have been.
Yeah. Because I know, like, what I've taken from that, with my father not being there, is when my son does something, like, I want to make sure I'm there, and I want to make sure I'm the loudest. You know what I mean? Like, he probably hated, you know what I mean? Now, my son, he probably hated me doing it, but I just know what kind of confidence that gives a kid when you be able to look up in the stands or you doing something and they proud of you and they just cheering, you know what I mean? So I've taken that negative and just made it where, you know what, whatever my sons is going to do. And you know what? And damn, man. I got a lot of shit. I got a lot of shit I got to work through.
Well, listen.
I got a lot of shit I work through. I don't know if I want everybody to know my business.
Yeah, no. We don't. We're not going to do a therapy session. We're going to get you. I got plenty of people that see adults that, they take insurance and private pay. So we get you tapped in with somebody, Tap In Podcast.
That's
we get
right.
you tapped in with somebody that can help you. But no, seriously, with that, like that's one of the things that you determine how it's going to be effective in your life now to get those answers.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like what is it going to do for you to help you move forward in, your everyday movement?
Yeah. Goddamn, Miche. Shit. This was dope, man. How do people get hold of you? Like, you do more children or you do adult therapy?
I'm strictly children. So
strictly children, okay.
Obviously, the adult age starts at 18, but because students are in college from 18 to 22-ish, I still see kids in that realm.
Okay.
But I'm from age 6 to 22. That's who I work with.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And how do people get a hold of you?
So my website for the business is abrighterdestiny.com. You can reach out to me there. On Instagram, it's at A Brighter Destiny. That's our page. You can reach out there. And then also my personal page is Just Miche. So it's JUSTMICHE _.
Okay. Bet. Man, get your kids, if you having any issues with your kids, man, make sure they go see some kind of therapist.
Yes.
Let them talk to somebody besides you, because, I know parents can have a short temper or short patience.
Because they're so invested.
Yeah.
Like as a parent, you want your kid to do what you want them to do.
Right.
Because it's like you've already lived.
Right.
So, yeah, allow them to come talk to a therapist that's unbiased and, can just help them process their own feelings.
Do you think kids are going to need some kind of therapy, the ones that are going through this virtual learning and not being able to...
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah?
Yeah. I mean, within the last week, I don't know, maybe 4 new clients that are virtual students because they're at their wits' end. They are sick of school on the computer. They are tired of it.
Yeah.
They're lacking that social interaction, just being able to see their friends at school. But kids like their teachers as much as they don't like the work, or the teacher might get on their nerves. They really do like that interaction with their teachers, and they're not getting it anymore. Especially if some parents have decided to send their kids back to school face to face. But if their parents decided, like, no, you're not going back to campus, that's a lot to deal with.
Yeah.
It's a lot to adjust to. And so a lot of kids are dealing with adjustment disorder right now, where they're trying to figure out their feelings and figure out what life looks like behind their computer every day. And so another major thing is the kids that go to school. They're trying to navigate still the pandemic. They got to wear a face mask all day. They're like separate. They're in classes. Some of them are in classes with the little partitions up, where and their interaction is still not the same. I think sports have definitely taken off. So they are able to play sports again, but it's an adjustment for everybody, in adults. Some of the things that we don't realize is that we still have to allow our kids the opportunity to express how they feel, because we make all the decisions, right?
Yeah.
And so we've expressed it. I don't like this. You're not going to school. You staying at home. Damn, you never go to that school and then you come back and bring something to this house. Well, let them talk about it too. You know, let them express how they feel about sitting in front of the computer the whole time. It's a lot. And if they turn the computer off, that's the issue. You know, like
Yeah.
let them express. So anyway, as adults, we make all the decisions. And so, yeah, there has been a lot of kids that are just needing additional support because of this.
Yeah.
And adults, too. Like, I want my people, adults, to realize it's okay for you to not know the answers to everything. And it's okay to reach out to somebody so that they can help you get to the place where you're comfortable with, you know, this pandemic. Because this is, I mean, we still in a pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost been an entire year.
Yeah. Yeah. Goodness gracious. Yo, man, thank you, Miche. I appreciate this.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
this
for
is
sure.
nice.
For sure. I'm going to have you back too, man.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I want, because you got a podcast yourself, right?
I do. Yeah.
What's the name of it?
The Black Celebration.
The Black Celebration.
Yes.
Make sure y'all check out. Y'all on Apple and all the other platforms?
Yeah, we're on Apple, we're on YouTube, Spotify, Google, all of that.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, bet. All right, man. Yo, thank y'all for tapping in with us, man. This has been the Tap In Podcast. Holla.